Hey guys, it's that time of year again when you ought to be thinking about buying a new pair of boots. I've got my old reliables that I wore all last year. This is the Hanwag Makra Pro. This is a great boot for me. I wore it mule deer hunting, I wore it elk hunting. It gave me a lot of good hunts. I've picked out 8 boots from the gear shop that I think might make good options for elk hunting going into 2024. First, I can tell you a little bit about my foot. This is all 11.5 size, which is what I've worn for a lot of years. I'm wearing a darn tough 2012 full cushion sock. My foot is generally a little bit narrow in the heel, medium width. One of the first considerations I often make with a pair of boots is weight, because 1 pound on your foot feels like 10 pounds on your back. So if you can save a little bit of weight on your boots, I think it benefits you to do so. I wanted to weigh each individual boot just to give you an idea of what a boot weighs. So with that, the first boot I'm going to throw on the scale is the Zamberlin Storm. It's a taller boot, as you can see. I'm just going to throw it on the scale and give you an idea of what it weighs. 1 pound 12 ounces. Next boot I got is a Salewa Mountain Trainer Pro. It's a GTX. It's a leather synthetic blend. 1 pound 9 ounces. Next boot is probably the lightest boot in the lineup, which is a Zamberlan Salathe. 1 pound 3 ounces. The next boot I've got is the Salewa Ortles Edge GTX. It's a synthetic boot. It has a nice rubber rand at the bottom. 1 pound 8 ounces. Moving into some heavier options. These are full leather. I do like a leather boot. You get good durability out of these, but they are a little bit heavier, so I would expect them to be heavier. This is a Kenetrek Hardscrabble Hiker, 2 pounds flat. This is a white Owyhee, I believe, 2 pounds 1 ounce. The next boot is a Zamberlan Guide Lux, again a full leather boot, 2 pounds 4 ounces, so that's the heaviest one yet. This is my Hanwag Makra Pro, 1 pound 11 ounces, so kind of middle of the road. So with that, I'm going to start at the end, the right. I'm just going to try each individual boot on. I'm going to talk a little bit about the features. I'm going to talk about the way that it fits and feels on my foot and just give you my opinion on each boot. The first boot I'm going to try on is the Zamberlin Storm Pro GTX. This is a leather synthetic blend, meaning you've got a leather portion of the bottom with some intermixed Cordura in the upper end of this, which is how they keep the weight down on this boot. I do like the fact this is a more flexible boot, so this is a 3 flex on our scale. A flex rating in the shop is going to give you an indication of what you might get from any given boot depending on how stiff it is. This is kind of middle of the road. I think it makes a really nice option for most elk and mule deer type of terrain. So I'm just going to throw it out on my foot and give you some impressions on what I think. I kind of like the height of it. I also like the position of the eyelets. It does feel like it gives you good ankle support. Overall length, it feels about what I would expect from 11.5. I probably have a finger width or so in the toe, which is important when you're going downhill. You got a heavy pack on, you want to have enough room. Pretty comfortable boot. It feels like the flex is about in the right spot. I might actually prefer a little bit stiffer sole. Feels like it's got good tread. It's got a nice Vibram sole, so it should wear. Overall, I quite like it. We'll see how it feels in comparison to the other options I try on. The next boot I'm gonna try on is the Salewa Mountain Trainer Mid 2. It is a leather boot, so you've got kind of a leather nubuck up here. You also have a leather portion through the upper. This is a Flex 3, so it's the same rating as the Zamberlan that I just tried on. There's a couple of things that I don't necessarily love. One being that the laces run through this nubuck here on the individual lace loops. Maybe reinforced a little bit, but that does give me a little bit of a pause. This boot does have a nice aggressive sole. It's got really deep lugs. It's also got a Vibram sole, so you should get good wear and tear out of it. It's a really comfortable boot. I feel like it definitely has a better heel lock and a heel cup over the Zamberlan I just tried on. I like the width in the forefoot. That feels really good. I almost feel like I may have to jump to a size 12, and I worry that I might fall between sizes. I don't prefer a black boot. If I was going to buy this boot, I would definitely prefer the brown model. Overall though, really comfortable boot. I like the tread in this boot. I would recommend this boot. The next boot I have is the Zamberlan Salathe. This is by far the lightest weight version of all the boots I have out here. Also, the tread on this boot is not nearly as deep as it is on the previous 2 models. This is a Flex 2 on our scale, so it's more flexible than the other options. You can also look at the foot shape, the last of that boot. It's a much more narrow fit. I am a little bit worried about, again, the lacing system on this one. You can see that the lace loops go straight through the leather. If you're looking to go light and fast, this might be a good option, and it's one I wanted to try on. I'm actually pleasantly surprised. It's really comfortable. It doesn't feel as narrow as it looked. I will say it feels like the tread might not be quite deep enough for a lot of the hunting that I'm doing. I don't know if this is the best fit for me or for everybody, but if you're hunting more open country with terrain that's not quite as aggressive and demanding, this might be a really killer option. The next boot is the Salewa Ortles Edge. This is a fully synthetic boot, so it should dry extremely quick. It also should be really breathable. I like the tread on it. The tread feels more tacky. It's definitely not got tread that's as deep as the other Salewa I tried on, the Mountain Trainer Mid. It's got reinforced eyelets. It's also got the locking mechanism on that third eyelet, which allows you to lock your laces in place as you're going up this boot. The upper in this boot has some nice features. It's got some foam. It's reinforced right around your Achilles. With the other Salewa, I was concerned that it was a little bit too short, so I'm gonna try this one on and see if it matches that. It's actually really comfortable. I really like the lacing system. I love the fact that those laces lock in place as I'm going up the boot. It just allows you to get a nice secure fit. It's maybe just a smidge too short. As far as comfort goes, just the overall fit, heel pocket, forefoot, feels really good. It's probably the most comfortable boot I've tried on yet. The next boot I have is a Kenetrek Hardscrabble Hiker. The whole bottom of this boot is one piece full thick leather. This boot is going to be extremely hard wearing. They're known for that K-sole. You can see the pattern. You got really deep lugs in this thing. I can already tell just from the shape of it, the stiffness. It's a 4 on our flex rating. It's a stiff boot. I have felt like over time I do better with a little bit stiffer of a boot. It feels like I have a little bit more foot volume than what I would like. My foot might be a little bit too narrow for this boot. You can see that I've got minimal space between the laces as I tighten that thing up. You're gonna have to break these in. I can already tell it's a very stiff sole. Overall, it's probably not the best fit for my personal foot. The next boot is this white Owyhee. This boot is an all leather boot. I would expect this boot to give you good wear and tear. Should be super durable. Also, it should maintain its waterproofness longer. It's got a Vibram sole, but the sole itself feels a lot stiffer. I like the depth of the tread, but I'm not sure I love the feel of the sole. I like a little bit of tack to it. We give this boot a flex rating of 3. To me, it feels a little bit stiffer than a 3. It's probably somewhere between a 3 and a 4. It's a little bit taller than some of these options. Sole feels comfortable. It's got a lot of cushion to it. This one actually feels like it has a pretty decent insole that comes with the boot. It feels like it's gonna break in really well. It's definitely not gonna take as much time as a Kenetrek would with that stiffer sole. It's actually a really comfortable boot. I just don't know if it's the best option for me on an early season archery type of hunt. Overall, I really like it. All right, the next boot is a Zamberlan Guide Lux. This is a full leather upper. The leather is kind of a smooth leather upper versus like a nubuck, so I know that that boot is going to wear extremely well. The sole itself is a Vibram sole. It's tacky, which I like. Flex rating on this boot, we give it a 4, and it definitely feels pretty stiff. This boot in my hand is heavy. Feels like on my foot, it's gonna be heavy. One of the first things I notice is that there's a lot of volume at the top of the boot. It definitely feels heavy on the foot. It's comfortable. It's got a nice footbed on it. As far as stiffness goes, it feels somewhere maybe between a 3 and a 4. It's definitely not as stiff as the Zamberlan. When it flexes, it feels like it flexes in the right spot for my foot. It's probably not for my foot based on just a few things like the amount of volume in the front end and then also the heel pocket and the top of the calf. So I wanted to really like this boot. Unfortunately, this one probably isn't my favorite. All right, the last pair of boots that I have for you is my personal pair of boots. I have worn these for a full year, full hunting season, put a lot of miles on them. This is the Hanwag Makra Pro GTX. It's a leather synthetic blend through the upper. Got a Vibram sole, and you can see I've got a full year of use in that. But overall, I'm pretty happy with the life that I got out of this boot. All right, one thing about this boot when I bought it is the insole absolutely sucks. I packed an elk out on it, and my feet were sore. I immediately got home, I replaced the insole, infinitely better. Boom! Initially, the things I remembered about it was that it was pretty comfortable right out of the box. I like the rubber rand. It comes clear up over the top of the toe. As you're lacing this boot up, You get to that point, you pull your laces in, and this locks those laces below that in place. I would actually love it if they made this boot a smidge taller and if I had that extra eyelet. As far as stiffness goes, it's a 4 flex, but I'm gonna close out. I'll give you some final thoughts on which boot I ultimately select and maybe give you some ideas on what might work for you. All right, guys, no surprise. I'm going to go with the boots that I wore last year. This is the Hanwag Makra Pro. I think for my style of hunting, the shape of my foot, and early season archery hunting mostly, I think this is the best fit for me. I may update, get a new pair. They do make a couple of different colors. They make this blue color, and then they also make kind of a charcoal gray. But I do have some recommendations. If I was looking for a really light and fast boot, I think this would absolutely be a killer option. I feel like it would be a really comfortable boot to wear throughout the summer. And if the price tag on these wasn't 330 bucks, I would definitely own these straight away. If I was buying another pair of boots, or if I wanted to consider a different pair from these Hanwags, it would be the Salewa Ortles Edge GTX. I think this would make an awesome elk hunting boot. It would make an awesome early season archery boot. I think there's a really good case to be made for lightweight, breathable boots that offer good stability, because you're going to be packing a lot of weight. I think that's probably your best option. Of these leather options, I was super impressed with these whites. They're not quite as heavy as the Zamberlan, and they were super comfy. So check out those whites. I think that's the Owyhee. If you guys got questions about any of the boots that I tried on today, or really any of the boots that we carry in the goHUNT gear shop, don't hesitate to drop a comment. I'd love to answer those. Reach out to our customer service. We have a bunch of guys and gals here that are hardcore hunters. They wear the boots, they use them. They can answer your questions. They can tell you how that boot's gonna fit your foot and offer suggestions to you. So please don't hesitate to drop us a comment or give us a call. We'd love to help you out with your boots for 2024.